Morning everyone, so today I'm changing the exhaust system in my RF900. I got myself a full stainless steel micron exhaust. So this is going to be the headers, and then I got myself stainless race exhaust can. So to replace the whole exhaust system is a bit of a job, because what you've got to do is obviously you take the fairings off, then you drain the coolant, then you take the radiator off, and then you take the exhaust off. So it's a bit of a job. So let's start from draining the coolant. To drain the coolant, you basically take this clamp off. If your motorcycle is stock, your clamp is going to be a bit different. I've got a screw on it, yours is just going to be a normal clamp. Then you take this hose off. And there we go. Now just a little tip to make sure the coolant goes down quicker. Open the radiator cap, which I haven't done.
A few moments later.
As you could see, my coolant was lovely and clean. And that's because I actually replaced it 2 years ago. I try to replace it every 2 years because that's what the service manual says. Okay, so let's just give it a few minutes and then we'll take the radiator off. Okay folks, so now we're taking the hoses off from the radiator. You've got that released. All the coolant's gone, so now we're taking this off. Obviously if your bike is stock, again, you're going to have a different clamp. I've got a screw on it. That's been now loosened up, so that should now come off easily. Beautiful. Then you're going to have this electrical connector over here, which you need to unplug. That's for your radiator's fan. Don't worry about all those cables because you're not going to have it. This is my accessories, that's not stock. Okay, so once that's been done, you're going on to the other side. Right, so this is the right hand side of the motorcycle. So now you're taking this hose off to release the radiator, and you can take this bit off here. So you're actually disconnecting the hose from the radiator, or you can take the hose off over there, which would mean the hose stays on the radiator and you're just disconnecting it from, you know, the cooling pipe, which I find a bit easier. So I've loosened this clamp, and there we go. That comes off. Hope you can see this. Now I've already pre-loosened the bolt that holds the horn. It's a 12mm bolt. There we go. So the horn's off. And I think, having all hoses and horn loose, I can actually try to get the radiator off. So to do that, there's going to be 2 bolts holding it. Okay, so the bolts holding the radiator is that one here, and it's going to be exactly the same bolt on the other side of the radiator. So if I move the camera, you will hopefully see it there. So it's just down there. So removing those 2 bolts holding it at the top, I'm hoping I'll be able to get the radiator off. Okay folks, to get those off, you're going to need a 10mm spanner or socket with an extension. I guess I can just do it by hand now. Right, this is off. Let's try the other one. Okay, there we go. There we go, this came off. Okay, so before I lift the radiator and hopefully take it off completely now, let me show you how is it secured at the bottom. So this is your oil filter. As you can see, you've got the exhaust next to it, and that's your radiator with this little pin here that goes down and holds the radiator in this mounting point here. And I don't think it's screwed in. You basically just lift it off and that should be it. So hopefully it's going to work nicely for me. There we go, so the radiator is off, and now I can finally start getting the exhaust off. Alright man, so this is probably the scariest part of the job, I would say, because taking off those exhaust bolts can be a pain in the ass. I actually did that on the Busa last year, and it was probably the hardest flipping job on any motorcycle I've ever done. So I would highly encourage you to use a breaker bar, alright, with a bit like that, because that gives you more leverage and you're just not risking stripping any of those. Because if you go ahead with this, you know, first of all, it's going to be a pain in the ass for you. You're going to hurt your hands, and also you're risking stripping of those bolts. So I already pre-loosened all of those using the breaker bar, and I've got to say it was pretty nice and pretty easy. I was expecting a lot worse. Yeah, it's beautiful, nice and easy, zero stress. That one here wasn't done, I think. No problem. Right peeps, so we've got the headers loose on the cylinder side, on the engine side, and now we've got to remove that bolt there, which holds the exhaust in the middle of the motorcycle. So this is where your foot pegs are, and for that you're going to need a 12mm socket or a spanner. Okay, let's have a look. I might be able to do it like that now. There we go. There we go. So that is off. Okay, time for next step. Right then, so let's just sum it up before I take the exhaust off. So the engine side, we're done. All those are loose. I can basically take them off by hand. Then the mid-exhaust mount, which is just below the foot pegs, has been done as well. And now I'm going to be taking off those 3 bolts here on the actual exhaust can, and that's going to allow me to lower the whole exhaust system. So now this will just come right up. Look at this. There we go. That's the old exhaust off. Okay peeps, so now we need to remove the old exhaust gaskets. So I've done 2. So those came off, this one and this one. And ideally for that you'd need a pick, something like that. And you basically grab it here and pull it out gently. There we go. That came out. And the last one here. Cool. Some people say you don't have to replace those, but I will. So I bought a set of brand new exhaust gaskets. They're squashable, so you put them on, and then when new headers come on, they're going to be squashed, and that's going to provide you a good seal so you don't have exhaust leaks. So before I put the new ones on, let's just gently clean it with a brush. And if you can, try to do it in a way that nothing drops inside the engine. So try to use a circular motion and kind of push it outside.
A few moments later.
And now you're putting the new exhaust gaskets on. So now the question is, which way do they go in? Because this side is flat and this one is a bit round. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I'll do it like that. And I knew this is going to be the case. They won't stay in. So the trick is to use RTV and smear it over here with a bit of an RTV, and that's going to kind of glue them in for a moment. So let's do that. Okay man, so have a look. So put some RTV on it. and this hopefully keeps it there, and it does. Brilliant. Nice, that's the second one. Third and fourth. Cool, so we've got the new exhaust gaskets installed, and now is the main part of the job, putting the new exhaust on. And this is going to be tricky, I know this already. Alright, so just look at this, folks. So this is a factory RF900 exhaust, and this is the legendary quality you get from, well, you used to get in 90s or 80s from Suzuki. Look at this. So that exhaust, and I don't ride my motorcycle during the winter or rain. And here, there's going to be a comparison of a stainless exhaust I'm going to be putting on my RF. So this is a micron exhaust. You can tell the difference straight away. Before I put the exhaust on, I'll show you another great modification. So previously I had those bolts in the cylinder head, and this is not the best design, because every time you take the exhaust headers off you need to unbolt those, and basically you're messing around with the threads in the cylinder head. So, you know, if you've done it just once, perhaps that's cool, but if you do it over and over again, you're risking messing up those threads. So instead of using the bolts, you can actually put those studs in, and then they will stay there forever, pretty much. So let's just put that in. Right, now once you've got your exhaust on, you're basically then securing that with the nuts. Okay, and what that means is that whenever you need to take the exhaust off for whatever reason, you're just taking the nuts off and you're taking the exhaust off with the threads in the cylinder head. And that's a great solution, and that's a great modification. Okay, let's put the exhaust on.
A few moments later.
Okay, I loosely put the exhaust on, so that's what it looks like. I'm going to be torquing those down now. Alright, so I'm now just getting this proper tight. Okay. This is very tight now. And the last one. Cool. I think we're good. Now, the key here is not to go extremely tight, because then you're going to bend the flanges. They must stay flat, not bent like this. And I think I've just nailed it about right. So now, all I need to do is make sure that the rear part of it is nice and sealed. Okay, as you can see, I've got this flange here slightly bent, so I guess this is going to cause a little exhaust leak, so I'm going to have to sort it out at a later stage. But as far as exhaust mounting goes, I think I'm now pretty much done with it. Alright, let's now secure it nicely. Alright folks, so as you can see, the exhaust is now on and secured. It seems like it's holding nicely, so now I'm going to be putting the radiator back on. Then obviously new coolant goes in, and we'll start it up and we'll see how it sounds with the new exhaust. Hopefully it's going to go in nicely. So that goes in here. What the hell do you want? There we go. Okay, the rad is back on. Now it's time to connect radiator hoses. And now it's time to secure them nicely. Okay. Right, securing the hoses. And the other one here. Came out, so putting the radiator hoses on. That was just right here. That goes on the water pump. Okay, and then you've got this little hose here, which connects to that. There we go. Okay. Okay, let's not forget, then we've got this connector here. Just plug this in. Now we've got that one here. Let's just make sure the hose went in all the way up. Next step, putting the coolant in. So for that you need to remove this piece of plastic to have access to a radiator cap. There we go. Radiator cap. Okay, I'm going to go with Suzuki Pro Cool. Just wait a moment until the level of fluid goes down a bit. Okay, so I've got the coolant in. That's what it looks like with stainless steel exhaust. And now let's have a look how it starts. So let's give it some choke. Max. There we go. Brilliant. Alright then, so the bike has started pretty nicely considering it's been stood for over 4 months during the winter. That's not bad at all. New exhaust system. I promise some little test ride in the next video. Thanks for watching, fellas. Till next time.